Hello everyone, this is Jeff at divinecosmos.net, and this is a recording of my article entitled The Universal Ascension Process, Journey to Oneness. Enjoy. Humanity is in the midst of a great ascension event, and in fact, a massive transdimensional shift is underway across all of creation. This shift is being experienced on Earth as heightened levels of consciousness, expanded perceptual abilities, and quickened manifestation. And this shift is but one small aspect of the overall ascension process that the entire universe is undergoing on a constant basis. The ascension process is perhaps the most important and fundamental element of the universe, only matched by the multidimensional nature of self and existence and the laws and mechanics of reality creation. The ascension process has been discussed throughout the ages and often misunderstood or oversimplified. Ascension is not about going to some higher, quote, place. It's about attaining higher levels of consciousness and reintegrating with your higher levels of self, and ultimately fully reintegrating with your highest self, none other than Source Consciousness itself. In this article, I offer my understanding of the universal ascension process gleaned from my studies and insights over the past few years. In a future article, I'll dive into the particulars of the ascension process as it applies to us and our immediate future here on Earth. As always, my articles are simply my perspective that I share in the spirit of discovery and empowerment. Take what resonates and leave the rest. The Universal Ascension Process. Ascension is the core dynamic of the universe, and it cannot be understood without realizing that the universe is consciousness, and understanding how that consciousness is structured. Let's do a quick review. All is energy, all is mind. Everything visible and invisible to our physical senses, including matter, are simply patterns of energy. The universe is a field of energy, and here's the kicker. This field of energy is conscious. How and why this is so is still a bit of a mystery, but nonetheless, consciousness is the fundamental stuff of the universe, and everything else is just derivative. Our consciousness is not a product of our physical brains, as contemporary science would have us believe. It is a thread of universal consciousness. There is only one consciousness in the universe, and it is the source of each of ours. The nature of reality. The reality we perceive and experience isn't the objective thing that our physical senses and analytical mind have concluded. It's more akin to a very lucid, coherent dream. We exist inside of a mindscape, a great conceptual space created by the thoughts of the cosmic mind. We are focal points of awareness of that cosmic mind, each perceiving and experiencing a small slice of this great conceptual space from its own unique vantage point. The reality that we perceive is just the tip of the iceberg. There are multiple realms of existence and planes of reality within this great conceptual space. There's so much more than we ever imagined, and it's amazing. The nature of self. The self that many believe is all of them. The self that identifies with the physical body and the physical mind is a mere transient fragment of your true self. Your true self is your consciousness, and it is a thread of universal consciousness. And this consciousness that is you is organized into multiple layers, with each higher layer being a composite of all the parts in the lower layer. You are a multidimensional being, and every level of yourself is striving towards reunion with its source. This is the process of ascension. The most immediate higher layer of your consciousness is your soul. Your soul is an individuated aspect of universal consciousness with its own focal point of awareness and local memory that accumulates and stores all of your experiences and the understandings derived from them within its energy field. Your soul created and connected to your physical body because physical existence is unlike anything in the non-physical realms and provides highly formative experiences that contribute greatly to its spiritual evolution and ascension. The multi-level structure of universal consciousness. Your soul is a part of the multi-layered composite structure of universal consciousness. As explained in depth in my article, The Multidimensional Self, Source Consciousness created many selves within its one self by the process of division. It subdivided its consciousness into multiple points of awareness, each with its own local memory, thereby creating individuated subthreads of its consciousness. In essence, subselves. The primary mechanism of the subdivision process is frequency reduction. By reducing the frequency of portions of its energy, Source created distinct areas within its consciousness. Frequency differentiation is one of the reasons why subselves appear distinct and separate from their parent selves, and is a key element in understanding the universal ascension process. The ability of consciousness to subdivide itself is a general capability, and each thread of consciousness, each sub-self, no matter what its level, can in turn subdivide itself, becoming the parent self to many child or sub-selves. This process of subdivision has been repeated many times, creating a deep parent-child lineage, a massive branching trees of sub-selves, all within the one self. The parent of a group of sub-selves can be thought of as their higher self, and can also be thought of as a composite self, because all the sub-selves of a parent self are really just aspects or parts of the parent self. And ultimately, the parent self is the sum of all the experiences and understandings of all of its sub-selves. Keep in mind that a sub-self is simply a pattern of sentient energy at a lower frequency than its parent. The energy pattern of the sub-self is superimposed on the energy pattern of its parent self. In other words, within a sub-self's energy pattern are the higher frequency energy patterns of their parent. So literally, all the higher levels of consciousness, of self, that you are a part of, are within you. And you are within them, because it is all simply patterns of energy superimposed on each other at different frequencies. The multi-level divisional structure of consciousness represents a massively parallel evolutionary strategy for the expansion of source consciousness. Source is the sum of all the experiences and understandings of a massive tree of sub-selves. Ultimately, every self, every being, is a part of the one self that is source consciousness. And it is expanding its understanding of itself and the nature of its existence through all of our experiences. The journey of souls. The fundamental impetus that drives all selves, all beings in the tree of consciousness is the desire to evolve spiritually and attain reunion with their source. A being's state of consciousness, how it views itself in relation to others, and its principles, ideals, and values are correlated to the frequency of its energy. The experiences that a being has drives the evolution of its consciousness, and as it evolves, it ascends to higher levels of consciousness and frequency. Your soul is near the bottom of the stack in the multi-level structure of consciousness. The soul exists at a frequency that is close enough to the physical frequency bands that it allows it to connect to a physical body. Physical life offers profound and highly formative experiences that provides your soul incredible opportunities for rapid spiritual evolution. Each soul evolves by the apparent linear process of incarnating many times in a series of physical lives. But it turns out that our linear conception of this is wrong. All these lives, past, present, and future, are all happening simultaneously. Our misconception of reincarnation as a sequential process is based on our misconception of the nature of time and our lack of understanding of the multidimensional nature of self. The many lives that are attributed to your soul are actually the parallel lives of a related group of souls. All the souls that are children of your soul's parent self, a level of self known as the oversoul. Your oversoul subdivided itself into many souls for the specific purpose of collecting a wealth of physical experience from many parallel life journeys. The understandings reaped from these journeys are enriching your oversoul and every higher level of itself, and drawing it ever closer to complete attunement to its highest self, the one self, source consciousness. The higher self, the wider self, the one self. Your oversoul is your soul's immediate higher self, but it could also be considered your wider self, because your oversoul is the composite of you and all the other souls that it birthed. And if you adopt the perspective of your oversoul, you could even consider the other souls birthed by it as your other selves. And you could take this idea a step further. If you adopted the perspective of your higher self, the one self, then all sub-selves created within the one self, regardless of what level, could be considered your other selves. In a very real sense, we are all one. SubThreads of the soul. A little known and quite astounding additional example of the massively parallel strategy that every level of consciousness and beingness is employing to maximize its spiritual evolution is something that your soul is doing completely unbeknownst to you. Your soul isn't just experiencing one life path as defined by your choices. It's experiencing every possible life path variation, and it is doing it all in parallel. Your soul is literally exploring every probable way that your life could unfold. At every decision point of any significance along your life path, your soul creates two subthreads of its consciousness and uses them to follow both branches of experience. At any given time, your soul has a substantial number of subselves navigating many parallel life variations, and thereby maximizing the growth potential for itself and all its higher levels of self. You are a multi-level, multi-part being, and through your simultaneous journeys in many realities, realms, and timelines, you have reaped the wealth of experience and understandings that are enriching every level of self. Ascension and the unification process. The journey of souls involves way more than just souls. Every level of beingness and self is involved. The journey is the evolutionary process of reintegration with our source. All beings are continually evolving until they reunify with the one self and become one with their source, with God. Our source devised this process of dividing and differentiating itself as a strategy to explore the nature of itself and its existence. The experiences and understandings reaped from its many subselves are expanding its understanding of itself at an exponential rate. The experiences that each of us has and the understandings that are gleaned from them are not fully assimilated into the next level of our self until we reintegrate energetically with that next level. As a given level of self evolves its level of consciousness, it is also increasing its frequency, drawing it ever closer to the frequency of its next higher level of self. When its frequency ascends to match the frequency of its parent self, then full reintegration is achieved and reunification with the parent self is complete. As each child self reintegrates with its parent self, all of the experiences and understandings of the child fully meld with the parent. And when all of the parent's children reintegrate, this bumps the parent's level of consciousness and frequency up, moving it ever closer to reintegration with its parent self. This process cascades up until eventually all levels of self and all subselves have reintegrated with their highest self, none other than source consciousness, the one self. Cycles of differentiation and unification. This is the universal ascension process, and it has two phases: differentiation and unification. During the differentiation phase, Source divides itself into many subselves using the multi-level subdivisional process, unfolding and unfurling itself into a great inverted tree-like structure of beingness. This sets the stage for the unification phase, initiating a massively parallel process of self-discovery and reunification. The reunification process progresses from the bottom up. The great inverted tree of beingness progressively retracts or collapses, starting from the lowest level of beingness, from the leaves of the tree and our incarnate physical selves, and heading up towards the base of the tree and the highest level of consciousness, Source itself. As each level of self reintegrates with its parent self, it in turn drives its parent self towards unification with its parent self. This process trickles up through each successive level, ultimately achieving the complete reunification of all with the One, with our Source. This is our journey to oneness. This is the fundamental dynamic that our Source set in motion to expand itself. This is the great process of differentiation and unification that the One Self has repeated many times to expand its understanding of self and existence. Oneness is the state that every level of beingness is striving towards, and this yearning for reunification comes directly from the One that exists deep within each of us. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this article, you might consider subscribing to my blog to get notified when I post new articles. Go to http://divinecosmos.net to subscribe and to check out my other articles.